reason why I'm asking you not to do that is because of money. So if you look at the City of Orlando Districts 5 and 6, you see that those communities are well maintained and they have amenities and they have parks and different things. When you come out here to the Pine Hills neighborhood, you don't see that same support in the neighborhoods. So for example, when you drive around Pine Hills and you look at all these fenced-in retention areas, when you actually look at the Orange County Property Appraiser's website, a lot of those retention areas are lakes. And while other communities around Orange County celebrate their lakes and turn them into amenities, we haven't seen that happen in this community. And I think it has a lot to do with money and perhaps a focus on what's important. So I think it's better to have a well-rounded community, but to pack all the social economically disadvantaged neighborhoods in one district, that only leaves one pot of money, because it's my understanding that the commissioners each get basically the same amount of money, for their district. So if the district or this area was divided up into to where it would be 2 districts that can get effective representation, I think the Pine Hills community would see the neighborhood moving forward. I think one of the reasons why you hear cries from the Pine Hills neighborhood about becoming its own municipality is because they don't see their neighborhoods moving forward. The only parks they have is Barnett Park and one little green space by the golf course. 84,000 people, and in the entire area of Pine Hills, they have no parks. And so they need public works money and someone to focus on those areas to make them amenities. So I'm submitting to you to consider, not putting them all together, but to have, maybe 2 commissioners or so that would have public works money to be able to invest in neighborhoods and make amenities out of things like the natural parks that they have here, and take down the chain link fences.
Thank you, Ms. Farley. Your time's expired.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Cynthia Harris, by the way, you have 3 minutes as a speaker. You should have a timer, I think, but is there a timer in front? Okay, so we have 3 minutes. Ms. Harris, welcome.
Thank you. Cynthia Harris, 12 Channing Avenue, Orlando, 32811. I'm going to echo what Ms. Vargo just stated. And I've echoed this in the last redistricting, that District 6 County, 5 and 6 City, we have all of the shelters, we have the jail, and mainly when you're talking about shelters and jails facilities, they are transient visitors. They are not permanent residents in our community. And they are counted today, but they can also be counted in another district tomorrow because they don't reside in there. So everybody that is in District 6 County is not a resident of District 6. There's only one social service is in Zellwood, which is District 5. I'd really like to see that jail not in our district. We take the blunt of the homeless population as it is, and we take the blunt of all of the nonprofits and social services that service them. However, we need some relief. We need other districts to share the wealth. And being that this is it's going to be 2 members, we also like to see some representation that looks like us instead of just one. So when you're considering your maps, please be advised that we are watching, and we want equity as well as equality. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Jim Callahan. And so next up is Nancy Borks. And clerk, could you please note that Mr. Arias has arrived? And Callan. Oh, I'm sorry, and Callan. You just snuck in. Mr. Callahan.
Yes, thank you. Jim Callahan. I live in District 3.
I need your address for the record,
Oh,
please,
sure.
sir.
204 East South Street,
Thank you.
Orlando. I was using for my starting point the State House districts. I don't have a table to have this up on the display, but one of the reasons is because having sat through the federal court session, you need to justify your reasons. If your primary concern was creating racial districts, then you're in trouble. Since these were drawn by Republicans, either the state legislature or the governor, I think the governor's office drew the congressional districts. This might have actually been from the state house. But anyway, it wasn't drawn by Democrats. It wasn't drawn for those reasons. So it's a good starting point. There are 10 House districts, but 2 of them, one here on the south, extends into Osceola County, so there's only a few precincts there, and one of them up by UCF extends into Seminole County, and so there are a few more precincts there, but not enough for a complete district. So you just have to add a little more to these districts, distributing this population. And so this automatically creates a Pine Hills and a West Orlando district just from what the state legislature did. And we'd have to redraw the Winter Garden Ocoee curve there that your hard work last time did to keep the cities intact but associated with the districts they wanted to be associated with. But that would give us a good portion of the map. District 42 on Escamani's district would have to be pulled further south to correspond to our current District 3. And some other changes as we move east, but I just thought that was a good starting point, and it gives us a deliberate rationale rather than saying we are setting out to create demographic districts that the court might not approve of. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Callahan. Nancy Borks will be followed by Dr. Jim Moyer.
Hi, my name is Nancy Borkus. I live at 7338 Woodbriar Court, Orlando, Florida, 32835. That area is the Woodlands of Windermere. We are in unincorporated Orange County. And we are near the city, but we're not in the city. And that's part of the problem that we had the last time there was redistricting. So our concern is notice for redistricting meetings like this one. We never received any notice that this was happening. We didn't the last time. We didn't participate because we didn't know. The last time the redistricting was done in 2020 was during COVID. So things were a lot different. But because we were not involved the last time, we were separated from the area that we fought for schools and other things. I've been there since 1980, and suddenly we were moved without our knowledge from District 1 to District 6. So at that time, we lost our right to county commission representation because in the 2020 election, we voted for District 6, District 1. In 2022, apparently we had been changed to District 6, but we were not noticed by anyone, and our ballots did not reflect a county commission vote for District 6. We didn't find out until 2024 that our precinct had been changed from 113 to 636. I don't want that to happen to anybody else. And I think the most important thing is that people know that things are going to change and they need to be involved in it. And the only way that's going to happen is if you all make sure that there is notice by letters, emails, any way that you normally notice people that there are changes in their districts so that they can be involved. And the other concern that we have is that I understand the intention is to use the 2020 census. That was 5 long years ago. Things have changed a lot, especially in West Orange County. So I'm a bit concerned about that, and I know things are going to change, but I have confidence that if you do the job right, we'll all be better off. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Borkus. Dr. Jim Moyer, and followed by Trini Quitos.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Jim Moyer. I'm the elected Orange Soil and Water Conservation District 2 Supervisor. I represent Apopka, Ocoee, Rosemont, Lockhart, and Zellwood on the Orange Soil and Water Conservation District Board of Supervisors. We're elected volunteers. So for one, I'm here to thank you all for your dedicated service to Orange County. And I really appreciate it, and I think it's great that y'all do that. I'm basically here to just introduce myself. And if you're thinking I'm a little far east from my district, my wife actually works just on the other side of Hiawassee on the nail shop right next to Checkers. So I'm down here a lot. So thank you all for your time, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Dr. Moyer. Trini Quitos, and she will be followed by Teresa Millay.
Good evening. Trini Quiros, 2000 Hillcrest, Orlando. This is a beautiful place. God bless the people of this area that somebody finally cared. The same thing I wish for every other of these 5 additional counties. Every county and every district should have a center of arts and culture like this. This is what brings the spirit of the people up, and I'm sure that those who knew, this is my first time here, those who know about this place are here. Keep coming. Make it happen, because if your voice is not heard, nothing will happen in your county. I reserve my comments for more specific things because I want to hear what the citizens, the taxpayers, the people who break their backs to maintain what happens in this county, and little, if much, is not done according to budgets and all kinds of things that I read, when billions of dollars, in this case almost $8 billion, are put in to support a county, but we see very little progress. I, like the first speaker, I applaud her. We wish fairness, goodness, something good for each one of our districts and those 2 additional districts that are going to be open. We have enough of separating communities or voting places or areas where they are accustomed to vote. And let's hope that 8 districts will do justice to more than 1,510,000 people. That's what we have, and those are facts according to January 2025. And again, I dislike the fact that we're using old figures from 2020. We should use current figures because this is not a national census redistricting. This is a county redistricting to serve the citizens and the taxpayers of this county, not congressional districts and not any federal elected office districts like Senate and what have you. So I am here to observe, and I encourage each and every one citizen to attend each and every one of these redistricting sessions, because together we can make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Quitos. Teresa Millay, followed by Patricia Rumpf. What's your name and address, Ms. Millay?
Hi, my name is Teresa Millay, and I live at 7325 Forestwood Court. And I actually do a lot of work with and live right next door or near Nancy Borkus, who spoke earlier. I'm actually the president of our HOA, and we have a voluntary HOA. It's not a mandatory, so our dues and things are based on the people paying in if they want to or not based on mandatory. It's not tied to their home. So I will say there is disparity between the types of homeowners associations we have and the ones that actually collect a lot of money. I mean, it's very difficult for us to make any kind of changes or get people out here. So what Nancy spoke about, our disenfranchisement, is very true. We have now, for 4 years almost now, not voted for a county commissioner in our area. Now, I received, as the president, emails all the time from Nicole Wilson, and we have worked with Nicole Wilson over the last 4 years, but I've never received one email from Mike Scott, not one. We didn't vote for Mike Scott. We have been told we're in Mike Scott's area, but we've never had a ballot that has Mike Scott. So Nancy is absolutely correct when she says it's our subdivision, and then there's a subdivision called Woodlands Village, and then there's one right behind it that's on Country Club Drive. It's kind of like right off Conroy. All three of us have not participated in 4 years of voting. So it's very disturbing that we received I went to the first meeting. I don't know if you guys remember me. Of course. Received no information from y'all. Nothing about this meeting. The only reason I know about it is because I went to y'all's planning meeting. None of our homeowners received any kind of notification. So you can look around the room. There's hardly anybody here. And there are so many people vested in this topic, especially in District 6, and you're going to see in District 1. But if they don't get notification about a meeting, they don't know to come. Nobody even knows it's happening. So I think it's extremely important that you revisit how you're sending out information to all the residents, because if you don't notify them, they can't have input. And that, to me, tells me then you guys already have a plan, and you know what you're doing, and you don't care about the residents. And I'm not saying I know that's not true, because I listen to y'all, and y'all are very passionate. But based on action, you can talk all you want. But the action is you notify all the residents, you have all their addresses, you know exactly where everybody is. You can send everybody an email or a letter in their home. You can do all that stuff, and nothing of that has been done. So really, I applaud you for having the meeting, but I do ask you to look back and say, hey, have we really done a good job of letting the residents know what's going on and how to get out here and give their feedback to you guys. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Patricia Rumpf, followed by Dr. Latanya Nichols. If I messed that up, I apologize. Latanya Nichols. Okay.
My name is Patricia Rumpf. Am I supposed to push this green button?
No, ma'am, you are fine. You are on.
Okay, good.
Just name and address.
My address is 555 Confidential Way. My address is confidential, so you can take that one. But welcome to Pine Hills. We are a community of many cultures and one bright future. Thank you for coming, and thank you for taking your time. Many of y'all had seen me in 2020, and you saw me again in 2024 with the charter review. So you know my position, but I want to say it again. I'm looking to have Pine Hills in one district. That was my concern back in 2020. It did not occur. And this is my concern again and right now. I realize that Pine Hills is landlocked. We have no place to grow. So because we don't have a place to grow, it shouldn't be difficult in keeping Pine Hills together. I did a map, and I'm going to tell you how I started my map. I started with Pine Hills, and then I worked around Pine Hills to make sure that Pine Hills stay together. So I'm going to suggest that you all do the same thing when you do your map. Start with Pine Hills and work around us and take it that way. I'm really anxious to see what this map is going to look like. You know, I voted for the increase for county commissioners to go from 6 to 8. I attend the charter review committees, and I voted when the ballot was placed. So I'm all in favor for increasing county commissioners, but I'm also in favor in keeping Pine Hills together. The scriptures say, how can two walk together except they agree? The two commissioners we had before did not walk together. There's no agreement on what Pine Hills looked like. one commissioner in Pine Hills may help us look what we want to look like. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Nichols. Oops, I'm sorry. Thank you. Ms.
Patricia
Rumpf.
Rump.
Yes.
Dr. Nichols is coming up
Dr.
next.
Nichols is next. Thank you. Yes, well, I had moved the page. Oh, thank you.
Hello, good evening, and thank you, Advisory Board, for being here and sharing with us this information, this very important and critical information.
Dr. Nichols, if you'll just give us your address
name.
for the record.
Sure, absolutely. LaTanya Nichols, 6500
Thank you.
Rundale Drive. And I just wanted to say, I represent the Pine Hills Community Council. I'm the president of the board this year. And not just the president of the board, but I represent the community. I've lived in Pine Hills for over 30 years, and I've watched the community take different turns. And as we think about that, the focus, right? What is our focus? And as we've heard from many of the speakers this afternoon, this evening, that have come up and shared about the Pine Hills community and what it should look like, we are looking for anything that we start to finish it. From the roadways, Pine Hills Road, to Colonial Drive, to any of the revitalization programs that have been started. They have not been finished. So how do we put that dotted line at the end, at that period, right? And that dot at the top. We have to start, so whoever, and we know that we're looking at right now the pros and the cons for 2 different commissioners versus 1. That takes focus, strategic focus, and timelines. You all know when we start these projects in Pine Hills, we want to see them come to fruition, just like every other areas that we see, Lake Nona, Winter Garden, Ocoee, all of these surrounding areas that are around us have, and we've seen it, I've seen it over the years, they've built up around us and we remain stagnant. That has to stop. And so at this time, we're coming to you all as an advisory board to dot the I's, cross the T's, and put the period at the end. Because at the end of the day, we're watching, we're listening, and I'm not one of those people that's going to fluff it out. We're seeing it. Our residents are seeing it, and they're asking for change, immediate change, not just change over 10 years. We've seen that. There's lots of stuff in writing, lots of plans in writing. But have we finished them in our area? So as you all are coming together and thinking about the rezoning, think about equity, right? Think about what that looks like with demographics. I've looked at the 2020 census data. It's online. It's available to us all. And so we know that those numbers have changed. They are not the same, right? When we think about our residents, 82, 84, whatever that number might look like, it is not that now. And we also know that the demographics have changed, right? And we know that our household incomes have changed. And so as you all are triangulating that data and that information, we're asking, as the representation from Pine Hills Community Council and from residents that are in the room at the table, we all have chairs we pulled up right now. We want to be at that during this conversation, is that you all consider all of those aspects. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nichols. And I apologize if I mess this up. It's either Joe Fortune or Jay Fortune. And it'll be followed by Hattie Bryant. Three more.
Good afternoon, sir. Jay Fortune, 6520 Moore Street, Pine Hills, Florida. Thank you guys so much for being here. And I really stand to echo a lot of the sentiments of the speakers that we've heard from tonight. So as you guys are working to fix this mess, I applaud you, and I urge you, and I ask you to keep unincorporated Orange County in mind. Again, like you've heard from most of us, a lot of us don't want to live in a big city. We don't want to live in necessarily in a municipality if we don't have to. And that also can't be the only way we see hope, the only way we see an opportunity for immediate change or immediate progress. So fairness and equity and growth, because we know that growth is going to continue. I think it has to include people like me that are happy living in Pine Hills. I don't want to live in downtown Orlando. I don't want to live in Ocoee. I don't want to live in Winter Garden. I want to live in a community that represents something unique. And I know that's going to require conversations. That's going to require more events like this. So again, thank you guys for your time tonight. And I look forward to seeing the maps.
Thank you, Mr. Fortune. Hattie Bryant, followed by Brian Harris, and Brian Harris is the last public comment I have. So if anyone wishes to make additional public comments, please get a form and fill that out. Ms. Bryant.
Thank you. My name is Hattie Bryant. I am here as I have learned that some on this committee are perfectly fine spending a lot of time and millions of dollars to turn our current 6 districts into 8 while using obsolete data from the census taken in April 2020. This would be like my husband, who is researching fundamental mathematics associated with the early universe, ignoring the data coming in from the James Webb Space Telescope. We have new data. It seems to me it would be foolish and short-sighted to use data collected in April of 2020. Why is it even considered? Too bad. If you want to use official federal census data, then we could just wait till 2030, right? The AI source Grok says that a reasonable estimate based on trends is that 60,000 to 80,000 people moved into Orange County since April 2020 through today. I just checked the data today. That is a group of voters who deserve to be respected. I hope that you will use current data as you press ahead. Also, I'm very concerned that at the March 12th meeting of the Orange County Mid-Decennial, did I say that right? Redistricting Advisory Committee, Peter Johnstone presented a slide showing the Orange County map with bright orange lines indicating current district boundaries, overlaid with bright green stars showing where the current commissioners live. To me, this was not so subtle, very visual hint to you that you must pay attention and not allow a current commissioner to be displaced. A 2022 state law prohibits you from drawing districts to favor incumbents. Yet at that same meeting, Sandra White, assistant county attorney, hedged and said that the law simply states that a district county commission district cannot be drawn with the sole intent to favor or disfavor an incumbent. She said, quote, "Consideration of the incumbent is still a traditional redistricting principle, and it can be considered. The inclusion of the incumbent commissioner's addresses is just not just for consideration and allowed, though not provided for the sole purpose of drawing the district to favor or disfavor the incumbent." Now, is everybody confused? Because in that meeting, she said she promised to get back a ruling from the county attorney. I suggest that you all remove the current commissioners' addresses as you consider. As just a homeowner and a voter and not an attorney, this whole thing that I just talked about seems sneaky. This will be the first time Orange County has done redistricting since the 2022 state law was passed. Please follow the state law and stop trying to go back to how you have always done things. Please follow the state law, or this committee might experience legal action against this work. Sorry, I went 2 seconds over time. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Ms. Bryant. Finally, if there's no others, Brian Harris.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brian Harris, and I live at 118 Murray Drive in Orla Vista, 32811. And 30 years ago, I moved to Florida and moved into my one and only home that I still occupy in Orla Vista in the Westside Manor subdivision. And when I first moved here, Orla Vista was divided into 2 districts, which there was a lot of separation that had occurred when I first moved there. I did not quite understand what was going on since I was from New York State, for those who moved down here. But seeing what had prevailed over the years, and then finally things had changed, and Orla Vista finally became part of District 6, all of Orla Vista. We'd like to keep Orla Vista in one district. not split, as they did. They used Kirkman Road at that time to separate our communities. So the west side of Orla Vista was 32835, and I was on the 32811. So a lot of us were pretty much ignored over the years. Of course, I was still working at Disney at the time. See how gray my hair got over the years? So I just like to make it clear that we really want to keep Orla Vista together. It's a very proud community. And we've gone through a lot of floods over the years. So just keep that in mind, that we really are working hard together and trying to make it a much safer and better place for everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Is there any additional public comment? You've already spoken and had your 3 minutes. Sorry. Yeah, no.
No, you can't do that. You cannot do that. You cannot do that.
Commissioner.
Just wanted to thank everyone for their public comment. It was certainly insightful, but I also wanted to recognize that Commissioner Wilson has joined us.
I was about to do that.
Oh, okay, cool. You want to do your thing.
I'm used to seeing Commissioner Wilson in the crowd. Commissioner, would you like to say anything?
Yes.
Just my general thank yous to all of you. I know this is your time that you're sharing with us and your energy, and I want to thank the public for coming out. I learn something every single time I listen to public comment. And so don't ever think that when you give public comment, oh, that was just a throwaway. I always listen and I always learn. So we're going to continue to do that as a group. There's a lot of unknowns right now, and I know that that is a concern for a lot of people, but I have a great trust in this group. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson. Were you bringing me? Okay, we have yet to close public comment, so we have one arguably final public comment. Eric McIntyre. You can correct me when you say your name.
McIntyre, that is correct. This is very interesting as our community grows. I do want to thank everyone for what you're about to do, and hope that you keep in mind that every one of our constituents that's needed, whether or not it's we have to keep it culturally and diversity correct, okay? Because our current makeup of our current board is just not a lot of true diversity in our neighborhood, okay? And we are divided by a lot of, I would say, new communities and new people. And I want to put it to you this way. The reason that I'm here is because I want to make a difference in the community. And I don't want you all to be up here and putting too many people that don't need to be in there, that may want to run, that is not qualified to run. Okay? Because as you look at the Apopka district and you look at the Apopka district and how it goes all the way out there to Zellwood, maybe we need some Zellwoodian people out there. Maybe we need some more people in Lake Nona to represent some of those, but not too. And then we have the Chickasaw commissioners, okay? But what I'm saying is that although the Pine Hills area, I don't think it's fully represented. It's not fully represented. You definitely have to look at the Pine Hills area and how it is divided. Because the Pine Hills area and the District 2 goes all the way from the Eatonville area, and then it comes back around. For some reason, it comes back around and hits Pine Hills as if you're cutting out more important areas. The College Park area is a whole different area from Pine Hills. Okay? So keep it diverse. People first, keep it diverse. Definitely look at the demographics of the people. And as the young lady spoke about the census, the data has changed dramatically. Okay? You have to make sure you keep the people first. All right? And there's a lot of growth. And stop selling so much unincorporated Orange County to Orlando. Let's keep something for ourselves. All right, that's it. Thank you all for everything you do.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. All right, seeing no additional public comment, I'm going to close the public comment period at this time. We'll move on with the agenda. You've received by email and in your packages and online the minutes from our last MRAC meeting. Got a motion to approve. Was that Alejandro? Oh, it was Jimmy. Okay, and a second from Ms. Jones. So motion and a second to approve the minutes that have been presented. Anyone have any comments, questions, or suggestions or corrections? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. And opposed. Thank you. Minutes are approved. Administrative matters and review of our schedule. Please understand that the schedule is in front of you. What I'd like to do real quickly is ask LaVon if she'll spend a couple of minutes, because we are trying desperately to get the word out about these meetings. We've met with the commissioners. We've asked them what sources they would like to publish in. I know we had an ad in the Orlando Sentinel this week. The website is up and going. Would you just spend a moment on the administrative schedule notices?
Thank you. Ooh, wow, it worked. Wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. We have placed information in local news media through press releases and through advertisements, so that's print and broadcast. We've placed information on broadcast and print community calendars. We've also reached out to some of the local smaller papers and smaller organizations, smaller news media, to give information to them about redistricting. We've publicized through our neighborhood services newsletter that goes out to all the homeowner associations. We've publicized through the various elected officials' websites and social media. We've publicized through the social media through the Orange County OCFL accounts. So basically, there's no media that we haven't touched. We've even done radio regarding redistricting. So there's some radio spots that have been picked up as well. So we've tried to get the word out as broadly as possible without breaking the bank, because we don't want to do that either. But we do want to make sure that as many people are made aware as possible.
Thank you. Are there any other changes that we need to be aware of to our schedule, or are we still complete with where we are?
We're still complete. Our next meeting will be taking place on April 2nd at the John Bridges Center up in Apopka, and more information will be pushed out coming up to that meeting as well.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments for staff? Yeah. Seeing none, we will move on. We have our consultants are here. They will introduce themselves. And we're going to just walk through the website so all of you here, our board, and the community on Orange Television and others can see what resources we have and what we'll be working with. I do want to thank most of you who have come through, went through and did your MAP training last week. I'm thrilled to say we had about 20 citizens come through MAP training as well. So we're very optimistic that there's going to be a lot of maps to discuss. I will remind everyone that maps have to come through a member of this committee. So if you've got a map and you would like to share it, please work through a committee member and they will submit it on your behalf.
Mr. Co-Chair, I apologize for interrupting.
Yes, ma'am.
There was an electronic public comment that was inadvertently left out of the record at the last meeting. So the clerk has been provided a copy of that, and if you all could just acknowledge the receipt, please.
Would you like a vote for that? Or just an acknowledgement from the chairs?
Just an acknowledgement from the
Yeah,
chairs.
no, you made us aware of that last meeting, and I think Chair Evans and I both acknowledge receipt of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please, the floor is yours.
Good evening to the committee members and to the community members. We are happy to see you all. We have put together a website hoping that all the information that you need is going to be easily accessible and hopefully at your fingertips. So what I'm going to do today is just walk you through the website. And yesterday and day before, I saw many of you who had seen the website and gone through the training, but I want to show you what it looks like. So here is the website, and if you don't remember the exact URL, all you have to type is OCFL Redistricting 2025, and you'll get to the website. And then what we would do is, and there is a lot of information that you should read, and if you have any questions, you can always contact the county. And please read the information, and then what you would do is scroll down, and there is a button which says Mapping Website. So mapping software. What you would do is you would click on the mapping software, and this is a simple, easy-to-use website that we have developed for you. It has 4 tabs. The first one is the current map. And here, it's important for you to look at what the current state of the districts is. And you see the map of the current districts that you're seeing here. And then there are some links down below. The first one says current districts and census 2020 data. And then we have a dashboard, which has a lot of information. So if you could click on the census data, there is a lot of information about census 2020. There is comparisons between 2010 and 2020. So you can look at all that data. And then, if we can close this, and there is an interactive map that I encourage you to use. So if there is any address that you would like to type in, see what district it is in, you want to zoom in, zoom out, you can do that. And then let's close this. And then we also have the Supervisor of Elections maps, and you can click on that and see all the information that is available to you. So you can close that. And then what we will do is we will look at the mapping software tab. So you would click on it and scroll down. So here, there is a button for the mapping tool. And all of you who attended the training sessions in the last 2 days, you were able to see how to use that. But we understand that once you use it, you would like to kind of go back and try to do it again. So there is a tab down there which says how to use the software. Now, you all are aware that members of the communities cannot submit the map. It's only the committee members who can do it. So once you create a map that you think is fair, you would have to get sponsorship from a committee member. And once you have that, then the committee member is going to submit it. And once we get the map, then we are going to evaluate it, make sure the legal gets to look at it, the legal department, make sure that the map is good, and the committee, it would be put on the committee agenda. So the next tab, if we could click on that, please. Up top. So here we have a tab called Maps Received. So we want to make things as clear and open to the community. So your maps through the committee member will show up on the Maps Received. And then there are 3 buckets there. The first one is once the map gets to the committee member and we get it, we do our analysis, and then we need 4 days. And after that, it's going to be in the subsequent meeting. So you can keep track of where the maps are, how many were submitted, how many are under review, how many made it to the next step, and how many are going to be removed. Okay? So all this information is there for you to see. And then the last step says return to the main site, where we have put in a lot of information. County has put in maps, put in anything, new developments, new permits. A lot of information is there that we encourage you to go and use it. And with that, that is all I wanted to share with you all today.
Do any committee members have any questions, comments, concerns? Yeah, Mr. Font. Jimmy. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait. You got to hit your thing. Push a little button. Now, hang on.
Okay. I want to say something. I had my reservations. I have met with the consultants. They're very professional. They did an excellent job. And I want you to know you have my entire confidence as a member of this board. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jimmy. Any other comments, questions, or concerns?
Yeah, one comment. First of all, I want to thank the consultants. It's a great tool. Yesterday I attended the training, and it was a little bit overwhelming at first when I looked at the tool. But this morning I spent a couple of hours just kind of going through it, and the data is fantastic, and it's very, very user-friendly. So I think it's going to be a great tool for everyone in the committee and the members of the public.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alejandro. Other comments? Bobby?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a rookie on this committee, I'm asking a rookie question here. When a member of the public submits their maps to one of us as committee members, they don't have to be with their corresponding district. They can go to any member, correct?
Correct.
And are we always obligated to put it forward?
You are not obligated to put it forward.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Anything else? If not, thank you. Thank you very much. And hopefully, if you went to training, you learned how to use it. If you were not able to go to training, we will work together with county staff and make something work. Mr. Callan, Tom. Yes, you're on.
I tried. Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So from what the presentation says, I believe that every map that is drafted by a committee member or proposed is archived, right?
Correct.
And then every change that is separately archived.
Correct.
Okay, that was a concern. And then the other thing is, and I forget this, James, maybe you help me out with this, or Tico. After this is over with, doesn't the election office have to revise precincts based upon what we conclude?
Yes, they're going to have to go through and revise precincts when we are done, which is why we've got a September deadline, and the county's got to deal with it. Then it's got to get approved, and then it will go to the elections office for the prior election.
And one more question. I know there's a lot of homeowners associations in the county. Does the county keep a list of contacts for each homeowner association, whether it's voluntary or mandatory?
I believe that we keep a list as accurate as possible if the information is provided them.
Okay. Well, if whatever list they have, maybe they can use the notices of the meetings, go to that list as well.
And that is part of the process that we're going through.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're doing. Then I think the staff is doing a thorough job of making notice of the meetings. I appreciate your all's efforts.
Yeah, staff has actually been very much on top of this, and I know some people haven't heard, and we're not going to mail individual letters to 1.5 million people, but every media outlet that's possible, every homeowners association, every elected, it's on radio, it's on television. We're asking for input of other media sources or influencers. If anyone has some that they'd like us to work through, we'll do that as well. Staff is very anxious to get the word out. And obviously Orange TV and the county website and everything else. Any other comments or questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Mark?
I had a question about once we reach a conclusion as to what we're going to recommend to the board, for the finality of it, will it be the board that votes on it and it's thereafter approved, or is there another step after that?
It is the board that votes on it.
So the board can vote up or down on anything we suggest.
The board can vote up or down or disregard everything we recommend and do whatever they want to do.
And is there a chance that we don't reach a conclusion as an advisory board? And if that does happen, what occurs?
We have the ability to submit more than one map, and if we get sufficient votes to submit multiple maps, we will do so. The goal isn't to give them 5 maps to look at, because then we didn't do our job. But if we come down to 2 maps or 3 maps that everyone thinks any one of these works, we could certainly submit more than one to the county.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. David.
Thank you. I see that Dan Helm is here from the Supervisor of Elections Office. This may be beyond the purview of our business here. However, I'd just like to know from the Supervisor of Elections Office, what type of notification is the public given prior to the next election regarding the change in the districts?
You got to hit the button.
Now I'm live. So Dan Helm from the Supervisor Elections Office. We will update voter ID cards as well as information generally using our vast resources in terms of mailing sample ballots, and he left because we are in a budget crisis, but we will do everything required under the statute in terms of mailing new voter ID cards once we have done the process of districting the precincts. So once you guys are done with your work, we take a couple months to flush out the precincts. Please don't split my precincts. Makes our job easier. But once that's done, we will send out voter ID cards to give people updated information about their locations as well as polling places and information. Every time there's a change in polling places, we're required to send out notices. That's typically via mail, but we'll also do a media push to let people know.
One more question.
Thank you. Yes.
So he said don't split precincts if we can try to avoid that. I saw that the software or the website had a tab for the supervisor election. Is there an overlay on the software as we redistrict to show the precincts?
I believe there is, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Other questions and comments on the mapping software? Okay, seeing none, at this point in the meeting, normally we would take on the first map, put it in the public record, and then deal with it the following week. So when you all submit maps, at this point in the meeting, we would take it on, we would show it, talk about it for 2 seconds, and say we're sending it off for the consultant's review and for Attorney White's review in order to make sure it's in compliance. And then the week after that, we would talk about it. So if you want a map looked at next week to start the process, you have until 4 days before the meeting. Now, next week, I think we meet on a Tuesday, which means we're going to need that map by tomorrow. Oh, today. This is Thursday. Yeah, today. So that may be a challenge for some of you, unless you go home really fast. Otherwise, at this point in the meeting, the presentation of maps we'll deal with the following week. So I'll move to agenda item H, which is general discussion. Absolutely, Mr. De La Portilla, feel free.
You mentioned, and the consultants, I also attended the session, and it was very helpful. You mentioned that the consultants review the map. What are they reviewing?
They run it through their software for a lot of the compliance issues and the federal law issues, things of that nature. Then they will report that out to Attorney White, and she will conduct an additional review at the county level. But the reason they are here is to run through all of the different parameters of what we've got to comply with legally, and they'll give us a report on those.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Co-Chair Evans?
Thank you. I just thought it would be valuable to remind everybody the process that we have. The rules of procedure that this committee adopted are in your binders. They're available on the website, and it walks through the process for submitting maps, sponsored maps, the timeline for review, and the process for consideration. It's important for us to be as effective, as efficient as possible. So, we cannot wait to hold all of our work to the last minute. But I want to reiterate for everyone here in this room, anybody who's watching online, and for my fellow committee members, that the purpose of having our meetings in the district beginning of our work was to make sure that we were doing a listening tour around the entirety of the county, to have the opportunity to hear from the residents of the different districts what their thoughts are. And so while we will begin seeing maps submitted as members decide to submit maps, I encourage everybody here on the dais as well as throughout the room and in the process to make sure that you hear from all of the districts before you are forming a well-settled conclusion on what is best for the county.
Thank you, Co-Chair Evans. Bobby?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our co-chair answered my question because my concern was, as a rookie, just making sure that I'm getting all the feedback from all our commission districts before I submit a map. But of course, I just wanted to clarify that was the intent of this process, is the listening before we're taking action on maps here over the next 5 weeks now.
Yeah, that is the intent of this process. However, at least last time, we started getting maps at meeting 3, which is perfectly acceptable as well, and we'll review them and consider them. And if they make sense, we keep them, and if they don't, we punt them. But there is absolutely no disadvantage, for lack of a better word, to wait a few weeks until we get all the information in from our community meetings. As we get further in this process, we will be dealing with 5-6 maps per meeting. And those are 5-minute presentations and 15-minute conversations. So each one of those takes some time, which is why we have 19 meetings for our agenda, because we're going to look at every single thing that comes in the door and give it all due consideration. Other comments or questions during discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. There you are, Mayor. Joe.
I wanted to ask the attorney, is there a legal reason why we're using 2020 census data versus other data?
Yes, so both statute and federal law require use of decennial census data, and that's because it's deemed most reliable. We can use the American Community Survey as well as the Bieber data that is published by the University of Florida, but it's just important to remember that these are estimates. So I've asked if that's something that can be included into the software, so I'll defer to Scott on that. But that is something that can be considered, yes, those 2 additional items.
Scott?
Yes, I mean, if we want to add that to the software, we can certainly do it. One thing we were trying to do is keep the software not overburdened with a lot of layers because it really slows it down. So that's why we were trying to make separate maps so that you can reference those as you're making your map. So there's 2 ways to do it. We can provide the information so that it's easy, or we can add it into the day's redistricting software, which could potentially slow it down and make it a little more confusing.
Let me ask, our consultants are raising their hands, so if you'll grab the podium and.
Yes.
I understand everyone's concern about using Census 2020 data, and I understand that it's about 5 years old. But the only reason, and as the attorney mentioned, that we want to use that, we can use additional data, but we want to use that because we have the racial and ethnic data that we can never get in the estimates. And we want to make sure that, and I'm not saying that we should stick to Census 2020. We should, because that is a legal requirement. But we can get additional data, which is more updated, and then we can provide that, okay, this is what it is. So that would be there, but Census 2020 offers us racial and ethnic data at the block level.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to ask the crowd, please don't heckle our consultants. We're working through this, and we will make an effort to make sure the committee has access to the appropriate data, and if there is additional data that may weigh into our decision making, we'll have access to that as well.
I just want to add, one of the things to keep in mind is you have to use something. So you have to use a starting point, and a starting point in this case is going to be the 2020 census data because it has all of the additional racial data and other data that we need to make the maps. You can consider the additional data some of the people who might do maps might consider the additional data, and that would be something that they would probably introduce as they presented their map. So I just want people to understand that you got to start somewhere. There has to be some kind of baseline to start with, and then build your map from that perspective.
Thank you, Mayor. Co-Chair Evans has a question for the consultants.
This is for our legal counsel. When we were establishing the acceptable deviation, population deviation for the different districts, legally, what data are we required to calculate that deviation based off of?
The decennial census data.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Alfont.
Okay. Okay. No. Okay. Let me start by saying one thing.
True.
I'm good. You're a rookie, Bobby. I did this the last time, and this was my mistake. Okay? I submitted map number 1, the map that Chairman Perez mentioned was done with 3 weeks because I thought I knew what I was doing. At the end, if it wasn't because Joseph came to my rescue and made changes to my map, which I will acknowledge tonight, it was a mistake. As somebody's done this for the 3rd time, I would urge you, do not submit a map until you listen to the community. Please, don't. It's a complete mistake. The other thing I think we need to start thinking is the following. Each of the 6 districts needs to lose 60,000 people. Start.
More than that.
Well, some of them more than that. Some of them, but let's start thinking where you're learning, are willing to lose population, because everybody this time is losing population. We like to call this a redistricting. It is not. This is creating a new map altogether. Also, for some of the concerns of you that we're doing this in 2025, in 2030, we're going to have another committee sitting down who can address any mistakes, and trust me, they will be. And that goes without saying. Now, one thing I would recommend, I was talked out 5 years ago. Those who are here will remember I wanted Pine Hills in 1 district. That was my proposal. I put Ocoee in District 2, and I'm going to say it tonight. Please do not divide our communities. You could put Pine Hills in a new district. You could put it back in 6. I don't care. But keep our communities together. We used to use Colonial Drive. The only purpose of Colonial Drive was so every commissioner could drive down Colonial Drive and have a piece of downtown Orlando as a reward. Guess what? District 1 last time around could not, because when I put Ocoee in District 2, they were blocked through Colonial Drive, so they couldn't get down to downtown. Nobody noticed that? You're welcome. This is very simple, people. We need to start thinking in a very serious way. How can we draw a map creating 2 districts, okay, 2 districts in which we still keep together all our different communities? That includes Union Park, that is still divided because of Colonial, which I never understood, and that includes Pine Hills, that is not divided by Colonial, for the record. So at this point, since we're probably going to have very soon the city of Pine Hills, let's at least respect it and keep it all together. And that is my request. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. And I will point out that we were grateful for your first map because it got us to learn the process as we went along. So we actually appreciated that last time. Tom.
Yeah, I want to follow up on what Joe mentioned, Mayor Joe. I kind of agree with that. I think we need to start with a baseline data.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I think maybe what policy for the committee would be, maybe adopted by the chairman, would be that all maps first use the census data, and then the second presentation would be if they want to do an overlay map using other data, they can do that. But the first map that we see should have the census data.
Well, we will follow the law that says that we have to use the census data, and then other factors will be involved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bobby.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just getting the feedback from the fellow committee members and, obviously from the public here at this first meeting, do we want as a committee to consider not putting a map forward until we've heard all the comments from all our commission districts at this point,
No.
for discussion?
At least for my record, I don't want to hamstring any committee member. Frankly, it's also good practice to run through a few before we start running through 5. So if anyone is so inclined and has an understanding of the community and wants to put the map forward, and you know what, the map may fail. It may get discussed and fail, but I have no desire to restrict any committee member from submitting any map at any time. Co-chair.
I would just also point out that we don't have to make a up or down vote on a map before we finish the listening session. So we could decide as a committee that, yes, these maps have been submitted, they're, available for discussion. We may decide to table them until we finish that. That may be a decision of the committee at that time too. But I think as far as, I'd much rather weigh the balance of having maps that people want this committee to consider to be available and on, on the website, and people are, having the opportunity to interface with that information. But we could decide that we don't vote it up or such maps up or down until we complete that, But I think that the submission process, I'd like it to see it be available.
Any other comments for discussion by the group? Okay, don't get used to this. However, is there a motion? I'm sorry, Camille.
Yes, before we close out this evening, I just want to take an opportunity to thank the members of the public who have attended tonight. It is very important. We heard your comments, staff hears your comments. We're excited that, while there may not yet be awareness in every single member of the county that this process is going on, that clearly the communication is flowing, and we ask that you help be a part of that process in your communications and what you share online. I also want to remind everybody that our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday. Oh, did I steal it?
No, I was looking for that.
Okay. It's scheduled for Wednesday, April 2nd at 6 p.m. in District 2 at the John Bridges Community Center. So that's 6 p.m. April 2nd at 6 p.m. Sorry, I said that already, at the John Bridges Community Center in District 2. So we absolutely look forward to seeing all of you there again, as well as the residents of District 2 and anybody else who wants to attend.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. We have a couple more comments from folks. Jason.
Awesome. I want to echo the comments of the co-chair. I also want to take this time. Today's my daughter's 15th birthday.
All right.
She's not watching this, but I want to put it in public record. Happy birthday. And I appreciate leaving early so I go have dinner with her.
There you go. Thank you, sir. Jimmy.
I have a question for legal. I think Commissioner De La Portilla presented a question about the location of the commissioners, and we haven't heard back from legal. How much longer before we hear?
Well, I'm sorry, I can't recall if I actually stated a memo on that topic would be forthcoming, but you all did receive a memo last night that addressed a host of other issues. May I ask what exactly is the question so I can address it, and I can direct that question to Mr. De La Portilla?
Yeah, I actually thought it was addressed, but the question is the showing, and I want to be clear, I mean, the showing of the star that sort of indicated where the commissioners lived in the process. We did not publish their addresses. We were not publishing their addresses for obviously a lot of reasons. But whether or not that was appropriate, I believe your opinion at the time was it is not a driving factor for us, but it is a factor that can be taken into consideration, but not a driving factor for anyone. But I will certainly defer back to you.
Yes, that is correct. So the mere generalization of the area where the commissioners live can be shown, and it's not illegal or unethical to do that. And we've decided not to publish the commissioners' addresses for that reason. However, consideration of the incumbent is a traditional redistricting principle, but keep in mind that that is subordinate to federal law as well as state law.
And this is clearly not a traditional redistricting. So we are not bound by it, but it is something that can be taken into consideration. Angel, did that answer your? Satisfactorily, did it answer? But it was your question before. He was giving you credit for it. Okay. Any additional comments? We got a birthday party to get to. We're all going to Jason's house. Any additional comments? Seeing none, is there a motion? Got a motion to adjourn from Mr. De La Portilla, seconded by co-chair Evans. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. And opposed. Thank you very much. See you next week.
Good job, Tico.